There is a force inside of you so powerful, so limitless, that if you ever truly tapped into it, your enemies would tremble, your doubts would disappear, and your future would unfold like royalty arriving at the gates. But the reason so many live beneath their purpose is not because they don't have the power, it's because they don't believe in it. And worse yet, when they finally do believe, they talk too much and act too little. Today, I'm going to give you a secret weapon. Believe in yourself and stay silent. True belief doesn't scream for attention, it doesn't cry out for recognition, nor does it beg others to understand or agree. When someone carries true belief within themselves, it becomes an internal compass, silent but unwavering. It doesn't require applause because it is already anchored in certainty. This kind of belief is not loud, it is secure. It stands even when no one else does. It moves forward without needing someone to say, you're doing the right thing. It knows there's a difference between belief and performance. People who doubt themselves often perform their confidence, looking for approval in every step they take. They dress it up in social media posts, constant explanations, and loud declarations. But belief, that's real, doesn't need to be performed, it's lived. It shows up in consistency, in discipline, and in quiet persistence when no one is watching. People with true belief don't have time to prove anything. They're too. The world trains us to seek validation. From childhood, we're rewarded when someone says, good job. We're taught to look for gold stars and approval. But that's dangerous because it programs you to doubt your own power unless someone else confirms it. That's a trap. If your belief only grows when people cheer, it will collapse when they criticize. If your confidence rises when people clap, it will crumble when they walk away. True belief can't be based on external noise. The most dangerous thing you can do is outsource your confidence. When you put your self-worth in the hands of others, you become a slave to their opinions. And let's be real, people will project their own fears onto your dream. They'll tell you it's impossible, not because it is, but because they couldn't do it. If you need their validation to keep going, you'll never go further than their imagination. But if your belief is internal, then no limitation they carry can stop your movement. Belief grows in silence. It's forged in the moments when you're alone, when the plan hasn't yet worked, and when everything says quit, but something inside you says keep going. It's that fire in your chest when results are delayed, but your resolve is intact. It's the voice that whispers, I've already seen the finish line, even if no one else can. That's belief. It doesn't need a cheerleader. It only needs vision and obedience to that vision. You don't have to announce what you're becoming. That's what immature belief does. It wants people to see the potential so it can feel real. But mature belief, it doesn't demand attention. It understands that greatness is revealed in manifestation, not marketing. You don't have to tell people what you're building. Let them witness what you've built. You don't have to argue for your dream. Let the reality of it silence the critics. This is why some of the most successful people often come from obscurity. They weren't popular when they started. No one believed in them. No one reposted them. No one clapped. And that was their advantage. Because they didn't depend on approval, they developed resilience. They learned to move through silence and rejection. They became powerful in private. And when the breakthrough came, it was undeniable. The noise followed the results, not the other way around. When you truly believe in yourself, you don't need consensus. You don't wait for everyone to be on board. Visionaries move before the world understands what they're doing. Belief gives you permission to go first. It gives you the strength to be misunderstood. It frees you from the burden of needing to explain yourself every step of the way. Your belief is your permission slip. You don't need one from anyone else. There is an incredible peace that comes when you stop needing people to get it. You conserve energy. You stop defending your choices. You stop trying to shrink your dream to make others comfortable. When belief is secure, silence becomes a sanctuary, not a punishment. You start to walk with clarity, not confusion. And that clarity allows you to move with precision because you're not constantly distracted by opinions. True belief is not emotional hype. It's not something you feel only when things are good. It's a decision, a declaration you make with your life. It says, I know who I am, I know what I carry, and I know where I'm going. It doesn't demand that others see it. It doesn't wait to be celebrated. It simply walks boldly, consistently, and silently until the results can no longer be ignored. Silence is often mistaken for weakness, for hesitation, or for insecurity. But in truth, silence is one of the most strategic weapons available to anyone who knows what they're building. It is the shield that protects vision in its infancy and the sword that cuts through distractions. When you understand the power of silence, you begin to see it not as the absence of sound, but as the presence of focused energy. It is a deliberate choice to conserve what is sacred and protect what is still growing. In the early stages of any mission, idea, or transformation, noise is a liability. It invites interference, opinions, and unnecessary battles. When you speak too soon, you expose your plans to people who don't have the capacity to understand them or the integrity to support them. Silence keeps your process insulated. It doesn't mean you're unsure. It means you're aware of the value of what you're building, and you're not willing to place it in the hands of public opinion. There's a reason the seed is buried before it grows. It's not because the seed is weak. It's because the process is sacred. Silence is the soil in which transformation takes place. It allows development to occur without disturbance. When you talk too much, you dig up the seed. You interrupt the growth. But when you stay silent, you allow the roots to deepen, the strength to form, and the vision to take shape. You give it the privacy it needs to become undeniable. People often confuse movement with noise, but some of the most impactful moves in history were made without announcement. Quiet doesn't mean still. Silence is not stagnation, it's strategy. It's the quiet grind behind closed doors. It's the discipline of showing up day after day with no audience, no recognition, and no applause. Silence is the cocoon where greatness is formed. It's the lab where experiments happen, mistakes are made, and mastery is born. Silence creates space for clarity. When you're constantly talking, whether to others or to yourself, it's easy to lose sight of the original vision. But when you get quiet, you can hear. You can hear direction, you can hear correction, you can hear conviction. The world is full of noise, but silence brings wisdom. It allows you to think deeply, act intentionally, and respond rather than react. Silence doesn't just protect your process, it sharpens your discernment. There's also a psychological power in silence. When you don't reveal your next move, you become unpredictable. And unpredictability is power. It confuses the competition, frustrates the enemy, and keeps doubters guessing. Silence keeps people off balance. They can't attack what they don't know. They can't criticize what they can't see. They can't stop what they can't track. In this way, silence becomes both armor and offense, a protective boundary and a tactical edge. Even in conversations, silence holds authority. The most powerful person in the room is not always the one doing the most talking. Sometimes it's the one who speaks the least, and only when necessary. Silence makes every word carry weight. It forces people to lean in, to pay attention, to respect your presence. Constant talking dilutes your impact, but silence concentrates your influence. When you finally do speak, people listen because they know you're not speaking just to be heard. Silence is self-control in motion. It's the discipline to wait, to observe, and to listen. Most people speak out of emotion, not intention. They reveal plans when they're anxious, argue when they feel threatened, and announce progress before it's solid. But silence is what separates the reactive from the strategic. It is the ability to remain still when others are scrambling. It's the wisdom to know that not every situation requires a response, and not every battle does. When you stay silent, you take back your power. You're no longer bound by the need to prove, explain, or justify. You don't have to constantly defend your position because you know that truth will always reveal itself in time. Silence teaches patience. It teaches endurance. It teaches you that time and results will always be your loudest advocates. People may question you in the short term, but when your fruit begins to show, your silence will be understood. Silence also fosters intimacy with your goals. When you're not broadcasting every idea or update, your relationship with your vision becomes personal. You're not performing for approval. You're not shaping your actions around opinions. You're building something real for real. And because it's protected, it's pure. Silence becomes the incubator for authenticity, the space where intention and integrity are kept intact while the world remains distracted by noise. Every time you stop to explain yourself, you slow your momentum. You step out of the flow of building and into the trap of convincing. Execution doesn't require permission, it requires movement. Too many people are stuck at the starting line of their dreams because they keep turning around to answer questions from people who were never meant to run the race with them. You weren't designed to explain greatness, you were designed to demonstrate it. When you fall into the habit of explaining, you give people access to parts of your vision they haven't earned. You invite opinions that come dressed as concern, but are often rooted in doubt or envy. People don't need to understand your process to witness your results. They don't need to agree with your methods to respect your outcomes. The need to explain is rooted in insecurity, but execution grows from certainty. When you're locked in, you don't talk about what you're going to do, you just do it.
The world respects results, not reasons. It doesn't reward the most eloquent explanation. It rewards the most consistent execution. You can be right in theory, but if you never build it in reality, it doesn't matter. Ideas don't pay bills. Dreams don't change lives until they become products, services, solutions, or movements. The faster you move from explanation to execution, the faster you transform potential into purpose. There's a moment when every visionary has to decide if they want to be understood or if they want to be effective. Trying to make everyone get it can become a full-time job. And the truth is, most people can't see past their own limitations. They don't lack love for you, they lack vision. They can't see what you see because they don't carry what you carry. That's not your fault, and it's not your responsibility to fix. You weren't called to explain your anointing. You were called to walk in it. Time spent explaining is time lost executing. Every hour you use defending your vision could be used refining your craft. Every conversation meant to justify your path steals energy from actually walking it. Your execution should be so loud, so relentless, so effective that eventually no one needs an explanation. Let your consistency answer their questions. Let your discipline silence their doubt. Let your success speak the words your mouth never had to say. Even when you do explain, some people still won't believe. That's because they don't need more clarity, they need more evidence. And evidence only comes through execution. You don't win people over with promises, you win them over with proof. You don't convert doubters with explanations, you convert them with excellence. So stop rehearsing responses for people who don't matter. Start showing results that shift atmospheres. When you execute, you become undeniable. You move from theory to demonstration. You step into a realm where the fruit of your labor speaks louder than any speech ever could. That's where the real authority lies. Not in how well you can explain it, but in how well you can perform it. The world needs less talk and more transformation. It needs fewer people narrating potential and more people manifesting purpose. Execution creates momentum. It builds trust in yourself. The more you act, the more you believe. The more you build, the more clarity you gain. You don't get confidence from talking about it. You get confidence from doing it, from falling, getting up, learning, adjusting, improving. Every step forward gives you more data, more wisdom, more edge. The longer you sit explaining, the further you are from that necessary growth. Explaining is easy. Execution is hard. That's why most people prefer the comfort of conversation over the discomfort of discipline. But elevation requires movement. It requires risk. It requires showing up even when you're unsure. Execution doesn't wait for the perfect plan. It starts with what you have, where you are, and refines along the way. The people who win are not the ones who explain best. They're the ones who show up and stay the longest. You don't need to prove anything. You need to build something. Build so strong they can't ignore it. Build so well they can't deny it. Build so consistently they realize you never needed to explain yourself. You were too busy becoming everything you said you would be. Breakthrough doesn't arrive through hype. It doesn't show up because you talked about it long enough or got enough likes and comments to validate it. Breakthrough is the result of alignment. When your actions, your habits, your mindset, and your focus come into agreement with your purpose. And that alignment is only forged through discipline, not emotion, not excitement, not noise. It comes when you show up for the work no one sees and stay committed when no one else believes. Noise is easy. Anyone can be loud. Anyone can make declarations, post affirmations, and talk about the dream. But discipline is rare. Discipline is quiet. Discipline doesn't beg for attention. It builds without applause. While noise demands recognition, discipline delivers results. And most people fail to experience breakthrough not because they lack talent, vision, or opportunity, but because they won't stay still long enough to build consistency. Discipline is the difference between temporary inspiration and lasting transformation. People get addicted to the emotional high of public momentum. They feel powerful when people are watching. But as soon as the crowd goes silent, so does their effort. That's the danger of chasing noise. It builds shallow roots. You can't grow into what you're called to be if your actions are only consistent when you're seen. Breakthrough requires work in the dark. It's born in solitude, sacrifice, and strife. It's formed in the moments you keep promises to yourself when no one's checking in. Discipline trains your mind to override your feelings. It teaches your body to submit to your mission. It commands your time, your habits, and your environment to bend to your vision. Noise doesn't do that. Noise is reactive. Discipline is intentional. Noise is loud for the sake of attention. Discipline is quiet for the sake of progress. When you become disciplined, you no longer move because it feels good. You move because it's necessary. And necessity will always take you further than motivation. Many people miss their moment because they're chasing inspiration instead of building structure. They wait for the perfect mood, the perfect alignment of circumstances, the perfect sign. But breakthrough doesn't wait. It rewards those who move regardless. Discipline doesn't care how you feel, it cares what you finish. It doesn't need to be exciting to be effective. Every brick laid in silence, every hour of practice, every early morning and late night adds up, even if no one else sees it. When you're disciplined, you learn to delay gratification. You stop trading future greatness for present comfort. You realize that mastery costs more than motivation is willing to pay. You start saying no to distractions, to excuses, and to anything that doesn't align with the goal. And the more you practice discipline, the more unstoppable you become. You don't need motivation to move anymore. You become the kind of person who moves regardless. That's when breakthrough becomes inevitable. Discipline protects your momentum. Without it, you start and stop, rise and fall, sprint and burn out. Noise might give you a spark, but only discipline will keep the fire burning. It's the repetition that builds resilience. It's the structure that holds up when storms come. Noise fades, but discipline endures. Discipline gives you the infrastructure to hold the blessing you're praying for. It makes sure that when your breakthrough arrives, you're ready to carry it. There's a difference between wanting something and being prepared to sustain it. Discipline prepares you, it stretches you, it matures you. Breakthrough without discipline leads to self-sabotage. But with discipline, you build a foundation strong enough to support elevation. Discipline doesn't just open the door, it helps you stay in the room. It transforms you into the version of yourself that can steward the next level. People will notice your breakthrough one day and call it overnight success. They won't see the early mornings, the lonely nights, the days you didn't feel like it but still showed up. They'll think it was luck or timing or talent, but you'll know the truth. It was discipline. It was the quiet repetition, the uncomfortable sacrifices, and the consistent follow through when no one clapped. It wasn't the noise that brought the shift, it was the structure you built beneath the surface. Breakthrough is not an event, it's a byproduct of obedience. It's what happens when you take ordinary days and stack them in extraordinary patterns. It's what shows up after months of building in silence, showing up in faith, and pushing past how you feel. You won't find it in the noise. You'll find it in the discipline, the decisions, and the daily grind that most people never see and would never choose.